The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, we're back. This is E. You're listening to Am I Mental? This is some bonus content here with our special guest, Rachel Conway. If you were listening earlier, we were listening to her talking about internal family systems, which is a pretty new therapy method. And we were going to go through a couple more possible questions, a little bit more about it. And then I'm diving in. I'm going to get some long-distance therapy.
I think we're going to try a little exercise and see if I can talk you through kind of a little, like a mini meditation almost, to see if he can identify a part or two.
Yeah, there's already been a few things that have come to my mind already. Like, you're talking about, like, anxiety and all that, and I'm like, I don't understand why I am so anxious about large crowds. But I am. Like, I hate going downtown in any city. The idea of going to a music festival, as much as I love music, and anybody who knows me knows that music is life for me, I hate musical festivals. I hate concerts that are indoors. I like going to, like, an outdoor amphitheater kind of thing if there's a grass area where I can lay out a blanket. But even dealing with the crowds getting there and leaving, I almost seize up.
Huh. That would be an interesting one.
Yeah, and I don't know why.
You might learn something if we did that.
And it's actually something that's been a quality of life issue in my current marriage and in my previous marriage. Because I am so resistant. Like, hey, let's go to the mall. Hey, let's not. You know, that's not good.
Interesting. So do you want to, unless there's questions, I can try to talk you through this.
Yeah, people are jumping in right now. We're getting, yay, bonus content. I love bonus content. And Brandy, hate crowds. Crowds give me anxiety. I start feeling claustrophobic. So do I. And that's another thing, too. It's kind of weird. I kind of have, like, claustrophobia, but I kind of don't. Like, I hate hands and things close to my face. But if you take me to, like, a haunted house as an inflated thing that you have to press your body through, no problem. But if you put your hands by my face, I'm going to swing. Just don't.
You know, and I will say it's pretty safe for everyone listening to kind of follow along, and just, it doesn't have to be the exact same part that E is talking about, this fear of, like, crowds, being in crowds.
Well, so far, everybody's agreeing that crowds and anxiety, Jennifer Ray, being in crowds makes me feel in the way. I always feel in the way. You're not in the way, Jennifer. Sorry. Mm-hmm. You go ahead and say you're not. And then Klatsana, crowds stress me out. Yeah, I guess crowds are kind of a big deal for people with anxiety.
Right. So you guys can listen to the questions that I ask E, or have E ask his part, and you could try to also ask your own part these questions. If there's some people out there who don't have, like, a fear of crowds, they can also identify another, either anxiety or even, like, a self-critical part, or anything that feels like a manager part. If they can just identify something, then they might be able to follow along and try this little exercise on their own as well.
So basically something that's been holding you back.
Yeah, or basically anything that you'd like to change about yourself. You know, a fear, a criticism, an angry part, like anything that's kind of uncomfortable, you could use probably.
Okay.
Okay, so you're aware of this fear or this uncomfortable feeling whenever you're in crowds, right?
Oh, yes.
And if you kind of focus on that fear, just kind of focus on it and scan your body, what do you notice in or around your body?
I get almost like a fluttering, slight tightness in the chest more than anything. And if I feel, like, if I had my watch on right now, I could see my heart rate increasing.
Okay. Are you at all like feeling that right now? Are you able to?
Yeah, if I just put myself into thinking about
In a
standing
crowd.
in line at like a concert,
Okay.
and I feel it.
Okay. Okay, so what I want you to do is just kind of focus in on that feeling, that fluttery feeling um, in your chest, and just kind of notice it. And as you focus on it, is there anything else you notice, whether how it feels or does it want to tell you anything about itself?
Uh, Kind of odd things. It kind of feels like it gets hardened when I focused on it. It's
Okay.
almost like it turned into a cement block.
Okay. All right. So as you continue to focus on it, just kind of notice it and feel it. And you could, whether you say it out loud or you just kind of say it in your head, I want you to ask it, what do you want me to know about you?
All I'm feeling right now is just more anxiety.
Okay. So as you're focusing on that, um, are you anxious about doing this right now or getting in touch with it?
Honestly, yeah, a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure, sure. No problem.
I mean,
That's
it sounds like I'm about to face something that's been a core part of me since I was a kid.
mm,
It's a little, it's scary. I'm not gonna lie, it's scary.
okay. So we definitely need to acknowledge that fear, this anxiety about facing that, and give it some space to talk about what it's afraid of.
Oh my god, I was afraid of getting lost.
Okay. Is
Like
this the
I just got like a huge flashback.
you did?
Um, I was really young, maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, and I was at the store with my mom, and I was busy. It may have been around the 4th of July time, and in my hometown, it goes from 3,500 people to over 10,000 people. So when I say it was busy, it was busy.
Mm,
And I think I ran off to go look at a toy, and when I came back, I thought that I was next to my mom, and I said I wanted the toy, and it was a total stranger.
mm,
And I have that exact feeling, much more intense, of the basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, sorry for the French, oh shit, now what?
hmm Okay. So this it sounds like this fear of being in crowds is showing you this memory that it needs you to know happened. Um,
God, I had
so
forgotten about that.
this part has been working very hard to protect you from that memory and from re-experiencing that feeling, huh?
Yeah, I mean, dear God, being that young, not knowing where your mom is, knowing that your dad's
Mm-hmm.
not there and your sister's not there.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel compassion towards this part right now that's holding that fear, that memory?
Oh, my eyes got a little glassy, if that means anything.
Hmm. Um,
Like
so
I feel so heartbroken for that part.
okay, okay. And that tells me the fact that you're actually heartbroken, I think you're feeling what that part is feeling. And so for you to be able to relate to that part, for you to be able to help that part and hold its hand, you actually need that part to move outside of you. Can you ask that part if it's willing to step in front of you or right next to you so that you can be there for it?
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I can.
Does that feel like it can do that?
With a little coaxing.
Okay.
It almost feels like I'm actually helping to guide one of my own children at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the adult is here to take control and to get you through this. Is how it kind of feels right now.
Mm-hmm. So you were able to have it next to you or in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how do you feel towards that part?
You're talking about the part that felt abandoned?
That felt scared and lost and
I mean, I feel that that was absolutely a valid way to feel at that time.
yeah. Good,
Absolutely
good.
valid.
Okay.
But
So so let
I wound up finding mom. Everything
okay.
wound up being okay.
Good, good, good. So I want you to express to that part, like I totally get why you feel that way and see if it hears you and feels you.
Is it weird that I can actually kind of feel it giving me a hug?
No, that's
Like, I'm honestly tearing up, guys, just so you know. This is amazing.
okay. So you guys can feel each other, huh?
It feels great.
Uh-huh. Great.
These are happy tears.
Uh-huh. I can.
I've had my guests cry. I haven't cried on the show. I almost cried on the first episode. Oh, Klatsana's in tears too.
hmm
And May or Mai.
Wow. So that's awesome, you guys. So you definitely want to show appreciation for this part. Say thank you so much for being willing to show yourself to me and to to talking to us. And we want to double check, what does this part need or want from you in the future?
Just wants me to be a little more prepared.
hmm Yeah. So it just wants you to probably work with it to be prepared and safe and out in public, probably.
Yeah. And now even just thinking about going into a large crowd, I'm not feeling that anxiety right now.
hmm
Like
Yeah, and
it's
if
not like it's been reduced. I don't feel it.
really, and even if you do ever have another little flutter, now you know how to check in with this part
Right.
and even say like it's okay, I'm here, like the adult is here. And
And ask,
so
what's your concern?
yes, exactly. What's your fear? What's your concern? Sometimes you need to ask, how old do you think I am? And then usually it thinks you're a child and you have to update it as to how old you are and what you are capable of, those kinds of things. So, what I would do, E, if I were you, is just commit to checking in with this part anytime that you need to, go out in public where there might be a lot of people.
I'm gonna do that definitely. I mean, just the effect that it's had right now, it would be in my mind, it would be dumb of me not to, because now I feel like I'm more functional now, just off of that
hmm
alone. And yeah, May is like, I was not prepared for this! Exclamation point. Jennifer Ray, I had a profound trauma when I was 4, and it was hugely helpful. And my therapist encouraged me to express encouragement from adult me to 4-year-old me, and this sounds a
Yep.
lot like that.
hmm
And then
Yeah.
Klatsana, I have never known why I feel bad in crowds before, but I had a major epiphany tonight. I'm shaking with the realization. May again, triple hearts to Jen and Klatsana and me. Well, thank you, guys.
Mhm. All right.
That's
Um, and I do want to check in and make sure and see if anyone needs any support after this. I want to just make sure that everyone's having, especially was it Klatsana said she's shaking with the realization.
yeah. Klatsana is she is one of the most like her soul is one of the most beautiful souls I have ever met. I love her to
Mm,
death.
mm,
And also, guys, you can always go on to Facebook and go to the page that we have, facebook.com/mental livecast. You can connect to Rachel that way, and of course, you can always DM her so that way it stays private, as long
hmm
as that's okay with you.
Sure, of course. And I have, yeah, I have a Facebook page under my business name, which is Genuine Psychological Services.
Which
Um,
which the Mental Livecast follows.
hmm And so, yeah, so if anyone needs a little extra support after we talk through this, please find a way to get a hold of me.
All right, and if worse comes to worse, so far every name in the chat I know personally. You can reach out to me and I can help bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, I'm sure that this is going to be important to say. This is not a substitution for therapy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so, and I do want to say, so this was only one tiny piece of this kind of therapy. You may have actually accessed an exile because you had that little bit of like somewhat traumatic like memory. This like befriending the parts is just the first step. So I will say if you ever want to like do this kind of therapy more, anyone who's listening, I encourage you to find a therapist who does this work, because eventually what you do is you work with the therapist to unburden the exiles. So right now this is just offering support and gaining trust in the parts. There's a lot more work to be done that needs to be done by a trained professional.
Basically, this is just the first rung of the ladder.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, seriously, that was so profound. I did not expect it to be like that. I was expecting like, okay, I'll get a little bit out of this. I was a little nervous because I'm doing it obviously on the air and it's me talking about it. You know, I have no problems being open about myself. I won't ask anyone to do anything I won't do myself.
Exactly.
So, which is why I was more than happy to go ahead and do this. But I mean, still, it's scary. And every guest can attest, it's scary.
And that's what happens when somebody comes, even when someone's open to doing this kind of work, there's a lot of times there's parts that jump in and say, no, we're not doing this. We're not going there, because there's a reason that exiles are exiles. You know, there's this fear of overwhelm, or fear of what you might find out about yourself or whatever it is. And again, all those parts are just trying to protect you. And that's a noble cause. But I also love diving in and doing this deep work.
I mean, it's almost like that old saying, you know, X's are X's for a reason. Well, it doesn't. When it comes to your own mental health, it doesn't have to be that way, and I don't think it should be, personally.
Right. Yeah, so that's
okay,
the
so
gist of it.
You heard it first. I had a guest that finally made me cry on the air.
Oh man, I guess I accomplished something.
Oh yeah, you've accomplished quite a bit. No, seriously, thank you very much for coming on the show. I cannot thank you enough. And for the listeners, yes, Rachel has agreed to become a regular guest, so expect her hopefully every season. That's my hopes.
Yeah. Oh man, I guess I better come up with more things to talk about.
I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and I mean, we could also have people submitting questions on Facebook, so that way we have content to deal with. But yeah. Sure. And Jennifer Ray, thanks for sticking around for the bonus content, Rachel and E.
Yeah, it was well worth it, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, this was, I knew that this episode was going to be special. And like I told you early on, before we even started the podcast, you know, before I even launched this podcast, I told you I want to hold you off until last so I can build up that listenership, build up that trust. And also kind of keep mentioning you constantly and see if anyone can put the two pieces together. Everybody failed.
Right, I was going to ask, did anyone figure it out?
No one figured it out. Klutz on to thank you, Rachel. But yeah, seriously, that was very powerful. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I'm just so glad that I got a little chance to spread the word about internal family systems, because just like some of your listeners said, it just speaks to me. I really only do therapy that speaks to me and that I'm willing to participate in as a client. So yeah.
Klutzana just told me to shut up. I told her no.
Yeah, thank you so much, you guys.
We got one from May really fast. Physiologically, there is a reason that our minds protect these things. Oh, is there a reason that our minds protect us from this? If it's there to protect us, why does it subconsciously try to kill us with anxiety? Ooh.
physiologically. I'm not sure how to answer that. But,
Well, I guess like saying the anxiety, you physically feel the anxiety.
right. And I guess the reason is that, I mean, again, our brains try to adapt to protect us. It thinks, our brain thinks it's protecting us from things that used to be threatening to us as children, probably, most likely. It might feel like the anxiety is killing you, but if you really get in touch with, there's the cat.
All of a sudden, there's just this giant cat face in the camera.
It might feel like the anxiety is killing you, but it really is trying to protect you. So if you can do a little bit of what E and I just did, where you just stop and listen to the anxiety and try not to judge it, and just it will eventually reveal to you what it's protecting you from and what it thinks it's protecting you from. But it might need some convincing that what it thinks it's protecting you from isn't actually a threat anymore.
And now I'm starting, as you're talking about that, I was kind of reanalyzing myself a little bit, and I'm seeing that the anxiety in crowds, it's a lot less about me getting lost. It's about losing the people that I'm with.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fears end up being at the root of them, I think, end up being fears of like being abandoned or rejected or something along those lines. Now, maybe you didn't feel abandoned, but losing your family, you'd end up, in a sense, being lost, abandoned without your family, right?
Right. I mean, it's an abandonment in the opposite sense, kind of, but you're still alone. Yes.
Yeah.
And you got another May saying, "Thank you, Rachel. You've been awesome."
Aw, that's sweet. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really appreciate everyone. Maybe, just maybe if you have me on enough times, I'll build up the confidence to one day start my own podcast.
I think you'd enjoy it. Honestly, this has been, for me, we're at the end of the season. Let's go ahead and we could do a little season recap and let you guys know how it's been for me. I have got to know people at levels I never knew I ever could. It has been one of the most rewarding and humbling experiences of my life, and it is literally as rewarding as anything I've ever done in my life. And I've done some pretty incredible stuff in my life. I used to play music professionally and get paid between $100 and $150 an hour on stage.
Oh, wow.
And this actually feels like a bigger accomplishment for me. That took me 10 years. This took me a lifetime to face. So we'll put it that way. No, it's been great. And as far as my SAD updates come, because it's almost summertime, I'm really not feeling it. For obvious reasons. I'm getting a lot of sunlight. I'm getting a lot more exercise. Even with this whole quarantine stuff, I have a good sized backyard, and I have 2 kids that they'll run you ragged. So.
Well, good. I'm glad you're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'm very... This whole adventure, just these last 10 episodes, like, seriously, it's changed my life. And I'm hoping that it's helping to change lives, too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that it was going to affect me the way it had. I had hoped that it would help others. I didn't realize that I was also going to get helped by it, too. So it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. I love it. I hope a lot of people are being helped too.
I hope so too. And I love the fact that you are a listener and you'll jump in on the chat on occasion, and you've even reached out post episodes to say, "Hey, can you ask a question of the guest?" And of course I ask the guest, I do it very tactfully, like, there's a therapist I know of, they have a question, they were listening, are you okay with receiving this question, kind of thing. Yeah. And no, you've been fantastic, Rachel. I mean, you've gone above and beyond to help out with the show, and I hope that I'm helping you as well. And Quetzano saying the show has changed me too so much.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So coming up in season 2, longer episodes. Thank you to the listeners for funding that. That was fantastic. And also, I will be adding a donation link and getting the donation stuff set up. I'm not requiring payments. I'm not asking you to pay. I'm just saying, if you feel that this is something that brings you value and you want to pay, it'll help me to keep the show going, because it can help me fund it. There's other goals that I want to kind of do that require money that I can't justify right now, but if it was through donations, it all helps. It'll all go back to the show. Hopefully eventually I might be able to make a little bit off of this for myself and for KZ and maybe kick you a little bit too. But no, honestly, if it at least self-sustains, that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal. And Klatsana, yay for longer episodes. I agree.
Sometimes 45 minutes is just not quite enough.
It's just enough to get the story out. Yeah, and it's like, trust me, from episode 3 on, it had been killing me that they were 45 minutes, but I couldn't justify the expense. Now I don't have to worry about it. Jennifer Ray, bring out the tip jar. Well, TIP stands for to ensure prompt service. And when I was DJing, I said to influence play selection.
That's awesome. I love it. I love your podcast. I'll say it again, and I'm really, I can't quite find the right word, but I'm just so happy that you're doing this to help destigmatize mental illness.
And I know what you mean, because like I have this whole mixed bag of emotions. I can't quantify it, like what this means to me and how much I love that I'm actually making the impact in the world that I've always tried to seek out and do. It's why I worked at a hospital automation company. It's why I'm now certified in sterile processing and distribution. You know, it's because that kind of stuff does impact lives. But this allows me to go ahead and impact lives and not risk myself getting infected. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, seriously, all the feedback I'm getting, I mean, it is a really weird mix of pride and humility. Because I love seeing it, I love hearing it, and just hearing people's stories about how the podcast has affected them and how it's touching them and how it's changing them. Not only does it really, you know, again, make me feel that pride, but it also makes me feel really humble in that, you know, I never really expected this to happen. I just thought this is going to be some cool thing that might work for a little while, but no, this has become bigger than that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just realizing I could have had the app open on my phone and looked at the chat this whole time and totally didn't think about it.
Actually, I kind of think it might be better if you don't. That way I can read the questions to you and you can focus on what you're doing.
Got it.
And that's kind of what I tell the other guests too. It's like, look, I know you can have it open, you can read it. My job is to be distracted by the chat. Your job is to tell your story. One of the things is, if this does get popular enough and the chat room starts to get busy enough, I would like to bring on somebody else as well to monitor the chat and let KZ and myself know what's going on. Although I might just kick that to KZ in season 2.
Yeah.
If his ass ain't gonna talk, I'm gonna put his ass to work.
Yeah.
Although he was amazing in last week's episode, not gonna lie. I mean, seriously. Oh, Klatsana. I always knew you'd do well with this.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I forgot that you had DJ'd, but man, your voice has been great on this podcast. Like,
and 23 years of phone support, plus DJing, plus karaoke jockeying, and karaoke. I've trained my voice. I was afraid that my voice was too high pitched for this, but when I listened back on some of the episodes, I'm like, you know what? I really do have the voice for radio and the face to go with it. She's not shaking her head no.
No, don't say that.
Oh, I'm adorable. But enough about me. Again, thank you for sticking around for the extra content. We are now about 30 minutes into the bonus content, so we've done, an hour and 15 minutes?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Klatsana, seriously, the way you've been there for me, you're a natural. And, man, thank you. I mean, damn it. There's that humble brag kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love helping people. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I love helping people. I've always had the drive to. My grandmother worked in medical records. My mom wound up working in housekeeping in hospital and long care facility. I have a sister who's a correctional officer. I have uncles that have been firefighters. It's been in my family. Mm-hmm. So I've been struggling to try to find my way because I feel that drive. I want to help.
That's nice.
And
That's
awesome. I think I found my niche.
I really hope. I hope it pays off. I hope it takes off. I mean, and I know you're not like, clamoring for money, but I mean, just I guess for the validation or something, it'd be really nice for you to get paid back, even just in appreciation, for example.
Right. Well, I mean, one thing is I want to get a phone specifically for the show. That way, if I'm out and about and have to do the quick check-in, you saw, I do a check-in with my guests before the show, like a day or two before, so I can really get to know them better and know what we're going to figure out, what we're going to talk about. Like with Dee, it took us 2 hours to figure out what to talk about. So I'd have that, and also I want to get a custom domain and website up and running.
Yeah.
I have a web designer that will do it on the cheap. I could do it. I don't want to. I've done web design. I don't like web design. I don't want to do web design. So yeah, I'd like to be able to say, hey, if you make me my website, I know I'm like your first professional website. I'll kick you down some money for it. I'm not going to say, do it for exposure. Sorry, I don't do that. I don't do that to artists. I'm not going to ask you to do it for exposure. I'm going to give you money. But let's talk about a rate that we can both agree on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so anything left to say? Yeah. Shall I kick off the outro?
Yeah, no, again, just thank you so much for having me. It was I appreciate it was, excuse the term, my virgin experience. It was an awesome experience. So thank you.
Pop the podcast cherry. That's okay. Actually, what's funny is that tomorrow night I'm actually going on another podcast. I shout them out in the chats. I'm going on the Porch Drunkies for my second time. They were the first ones to get me on a podcast. They popped my podcast cherry. Nice. And I will say Rachel was very nervous going into this. I don't think that she's going to be near. Hey, I call everybody out. But I'm sure that you're not going to be nearly as nervous next time.
Right.
As you can tell, I try to make this as comfortable an environment as I can.
Yeah. Thank you for making me laugh right before the session, the session started, right before the podcast started, because I think, laughter is the best medicine.
Oh yeah, I make a goal to try to get the guests to laugh before we start, because it does. It helps. It drops the stress level. It eases you in. It gets you in just such a better mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So thank you.
Yep, and Tommy from the Porch Drunkies. Oh, shucks. And then Jennifer Ray. See everyone in season 2. Chat friends, find me on Twitter or Facebook Messenger in the interim with a big smiley face. Cool. But yes, by all means, if you like the show, follow the show on Spreaker. You'll get notifications when we go live. In this next month, I will be dropping little things here and there through not official podcasts. They won't be at the regular times, but there'll be little informational things to kind of let you know what's going on, what's coming up. And also, I want feedback. And especially, go to Facebook and go to the I Am Mental website there. I'm going to be putting up things asking, if there's a guest that you want back, who? And I recap who the guests are that were. I don't want to bring obviously I want to bring everybody back, but I don't want the show to be the revolving door of the same guests, every time. But, having one or two guests come back one season, then a couple others on another season, that's fine. That's kind of expected, because there's some people that really didn't get to share what they needed to share.
Everything, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
45 minutes, come on. There's some people that didn't even get to really share beyond their story. Didn't even get to go into the emotional side of it like I wanted to.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we'll call that a wrap.
Yeah.
Again.
Have a good.
Okay, go ahead.
Have a good night.
Plug your business one more time.
Okay. So my business, I forgot to mention this in the very beginning. My business is called Genuine Psychological Services. I'm a psychologist mainly in San Diego in the Mission Valley area, but I also have a second location in Encinitas. Caveat is that all of my sessions right now, of course, are primarily video. For the rare occasion that somebody's not comfortable on video, I'm doing phone. Unfortunately, until there's a vaccine, I may not be back in office until then. But I think the video has been great.
Yeah, I mean, that right there breaks that geographic barrier that I talked about. But you still can't be my therapist, can you? There's too much. We know too much of each other.
Yeah.
There's that
true.
conflict.
Yeah, I would like to plug my my new Instagram page because I need followers. It would help me get some exposure. My Instagram handle is GPS Psych Services. No spaces, no nothing, but GPS Psych Services. That's my Instagram handle. So follow me. I've forgotten to post for the last few days, but I do like to post kind of like inspirational things and things that have to do with mental health. So
I got you. I've been keeping notes so that way everything's going to go in the notes.
Sounds good. So
and yeah, I guess for the listeners, I guess they could contact you and have you as their therapist because they don't know you.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm not really taking anyone new right now because it's hard with all the. But in the future, when things start to go back to normal, like schools and stuff, I'd be able to take more clients then.
And also with the video aspect of it, it kind of, again, it breaks that geographical barrier, so.
It does, yeah. Anyone in California, since I'm licensed in California, I could technically treat anyone in California.
All right, so there you go, people. And I just heard half the chat room go, dang it.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. Again, thank you very much. Thank you again to the guests. Tentatively speaking, the show will be back on, I'm looking, July 2nd is the tentative return. So about 4 weeks from now. If I can launch it a little bit sooner, I'll let everybody know. But that's the tentative date right now. Jennifer Ray, you heard me from here? About the dang it part. And you've been followed on Instagram by Jennifer Ray.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, the listeners, they're the best. They are the best, hands down.
Awesome.
All right. And, hey, do you guys hear that? It sounds like the outro music. See you guys in July. But now do you see?